Hi, my name is MarioDell'Olio, and you're watching The Shadows Project.
In this episode of the Shadows Project, we meet MarioDell'Olio to talk about the real-life experiences which inspired his beautifully written coming-of-age story, New Men.
Fantastic story, yeah? Like a coming-of-age story. It's bittersweet, you know. In the end, I found it quite bittersweet. But like most things in life, you have your stages in life, you know, that come and go, and love and all these things and friendships. But can you just summarize the story, and then we'll just take it, you know, talk about aspects of it. The idea is to talk about you, really, you know what I mean, to highlight you and
Great.
your part in the story. Yeah.
Great.
Okay.
So I based the story on a year that I spent in Rome in the Vatican, and so in the 2 years leading up to writing the book, I called a number of my former classmates or guys that were a little older than me who were there, and just asked them what their memories were, and so combined with my own experiences, I created these three characters, which are a composite of all of us, there. And
they're very like distinct personalities. Yeah, you've got like Miguel, who's very, he's like the one who's the middle class guy, really. Yeah, but he's not averse to like hard work. He worked hard on his father's ranch, so he's got really great qualities, great characteristics. You've got like Kevin, who's a bit more reserved. Yeah.
Yes.
And then the main guy, Anthony. Yeah, who's like sort of, I don't know. I felt like he sat nicely in between them. He's quite reserved, but he's like also very, let's say, pleasing on the eye to people. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, Anthony is, he's got his heart on his sleeve. He's in many ways very innocent and idealistic, and I think, what I really wanted to portray in the story is that, early 20s, you want to conquer the world, you think you're invincible, you're idealistic, and then you begin to learn about real life and how it's not necessarily as you may have perceived it to be.
Yeah. Especially in this book, because yours is like in the book you refer to like living under a microscope, in Vatican City. So can you just talk about that, like that side of it? So yeah,
I have to say, that was very much my experience. I had come from a place where I was in a very progressive university back in the United States, and here I was at 22 or 21, 22 years old, and there I was in the Vatican, and every move I made, people were watching and evaluating. We used to call it, and then we were told to kind of look inward. We used to call it navel gazing. Are you worthy? Or are you doing the right thing? And I was like, this is crazy. This is insane. Like, I'm an adult. Why do I have to prove myself to you? And so a lot of that character of Anthony, his idealism, and then his dismay with a very strict culture of the Vatican was very much how I felt back then.
Yeah, because there's a scene where he wants to see part of the story where he wants to see his cousin, go and visit his cousin in another part of Italy, and he's dismayed because they're telling him he can't go, basically.
Yes.
It's like he's a little boy, and he's very like defiant inside, very angry, but at the same time he's got to like adhere to these rules of I'd never heard this word before, seminarian. Yeah.
Yeah, seminary is a particular kind of study. It's studying for priesthood, Catholic priesthood. Other denominations, Christian denominations, use it as well. But a seminary is where you are preparing to become a priest or in ministry.
But you studied psychology, yeah?
Yes.
University. And then you went on to study, what was it? Was it theology or something?
Theology, yeah. So a lot of a lot of the people who go to become a priest, in your undergraduate work, your university work, they'll either do philosophy or generally it's philosophy first, and then you go on to get a graduate degree in theology. And so I had to, while my undergraduate degree is in psychology, I had to have a certain number of credits in philosophy in order to get into the theology program.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because this is what gives like the book a bit more, a bit more context to people who are watching, a bit more context to like understand who's writing this book. Yeah, it's
Yes.
not just some guy who's got like, I don't know, some fantasy about people. It's actually somebody who's lived through these experiences in some way, like a deep understanding of religion and Italy and these places, and also this time. What it was set in the early 80s, yeah.
Yes, in the
Oh yeah,
early 80s, and I mean, things were really changing within the church, and like two of the characters are gay, and two of the main characters, Anthony and Kevin, are gay, and Miguel is straight, and so there's during that time period, the hiding your sexuality was really important because uh,
Miguel's like both. No, he's like bisexual.
Um, I don't know. He might be, in the book, he's really, I think he's just more accepting of his gay friends, because he's definitely interested in Maria.
Yeah,
And
like he falls in love with Maria. But I mean, I just thought like his flirtatiousness and like this, these things, are quite, provocative. Let's say.
yeah, I think he could be. I think he could be. I think that's part of what I like about his character is that, or any of the characters. I mean, that the reader can, you know, figure out who that person is or what they might be. Because sexuality is a spectrum. And
Yeah,
so, and he was very comfortable flirting with the guys.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Was it like this in the in Italy? I lived in Italy for a few years, and like lots of the like men exhibit characteristics what people would, the stereotypical sort of gay image, you know what I mean, like quite camp and that. Lots of the men in Italy were like this, but they had girlfriends and that. But I always so are the priests like this in?
Yes. So I remember, like I studied in Italy also in my undergraduate work. So I studied Italian history and culture when I guess it was my second year of university. And so I was in northern Italy in Urbino. And I remember the local guys who were just very flirty and very, but and yet they all had girlfriends as well. So yeah, I never could tell where they were coming from. I remember being like, this is very confusing. This is not like it is in the United
Well,
States.
I lived in the south of Italy in Puglia, yeah. So I remember going to a bar and I said to my friend, "Is this a gay bar?" Because it looked. I know. Maybe people would be angry with that. It's just what I thought. You know what I mean? I can't help what I thought. And I saw like everybody looked very well groomed. Kind of bright colours and beards and all this, and I was like, this looks like a gay bar to me, because all the women were sitting on the other side, so maybe they kind of like still got them traditions, where they separate men and women a lot.
Oh yeah, it's very. Now I have Puglia is where my a main part of my family is from, so I still have very very close first cousins, many of them there that I go
Um,
visit, and
which,
it is
which
very much.
which city in Puglia?
It's in Bisceglie,
I'll
which is,
tell you, yeah, I lived in Molfetta.
oh my
Well, very
goodness.
nice, just up the road. Yeah, yeah,
Right next door.
yeah,
And they're beautiful seacoast towns,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and so but yeah, the traditions of, like, the men seem to still hang out together in one spot and the women hang out in another spot, and you know and then they're very physically affectionate with each other,
Mhm.
which from I don't know, an Anglo perspective, especially an American perspective, that's not how I was taught, and
Well, Well, it's like every day. Molfetta, I don't know if you've been to Molfetta. It's like a small town, yeah. And every day you see the same people again and again. Walking up Corso Umberto, and they'd be like, as though they hadn't seen me for like 10 years. They're like, "Oh, Tim,"
Yes.
look so happy to see me. I was like, "You saw me yesterday."
Yeah, exactly.
Just like a totally different, mindset. But yeah, great place. But so this aspect of like this coming of age, sort of aspect. So you've got like Miguel, who I said, middle class guy, but hardworking. You got the other guy from the Bronx, yeah. So
Yes.
Anthony from the Bronx. Where are you from in the States? Are you from?
I'm from Connecticut, which is the area is a bedroom community of New York City. So a lot of
Okay.
people would take the train into New York to work, and so we would pass through the Bronx on the way to
So
Manhattan.
is Anthony sort of based on your youth a little bit, or is it?
His personality is very much based on me.
Yeah.
You know.
There's something like in the story, it touches on other things in the priesthood, which are quite like difficult to read. Yeah, about like grooming, and he has like there's a scene where he's in an accident when he's 16.
Yeah.
Is it Father Smith? Is it? He goes
Yes.
to? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
He goes to the priest to like console him, and then he ends up sort of like they have like a sexual encounter, and this is
Right. And it's interesting. That kind of situation has happened a lot to a number of my friends, as a matter of fact. The it's interesting with all that's happened in the Catholic Church and the scandal about the abuse that this was not a singular experience for it. It happened to so many different people and so many friends of mine, actually. And once it started to come out, many people began to admit that it happened. I was at a wedding about a year ago of dear friends from high school, and there was just a list that had just come out from one of the dioceses of the priests that were credibly accused, as they called it. And they're like, "Oh yeah, he tried that on me," and "Oh yeah, he tried that on me." So these are people I went to high school with,
yeah,
and
yeah.
so it
It's a big
wasn't uncommon.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, because when I was a kid, we had a great priest in the house, an altar boy. When I was a little kid, not religious anymore, but yeah. But luckily, we had a great priest, and they have there's this reputation in the Catholic Church that there's lots of this going on, yeah. And even at the highest level in your story, the secretary to the Pope even tries it on with Anthony, yeah, in a scene.
So he's that particular character is based on a real person. He he was written about in a book called "Inside the Vatican Closet" by a French journalist, and he actually was very well known in the Vatican for his activities. So and that encounter actually did happen to me. Like I remember the window coming down in the limousine and him leering at me, and I'm like, "Hey," and I was so innocent. I was like, "Oh my God, it's the Pope's secretary!"
Yeah. Well, the guy had that position, really.
Yes,
Oh
yes,
my God, that's crazy. Because it was Pope John Paul II, yeah. That's
yes,
his name. I think I seen him once when I was a kid. He drove past. He visited England, and he
yeah.
drove past, and we all stood there and waved, and
Very popular, charismatic man. Yeah.
yeah. So, what did you report this when it happened, or did you just?
Oh no, no. There was this kind of culture of secrecy and silence. You never wanted to reporting on a superior like that, especially somebody as powerful as that would have been, dangerous. The victim would have been suspect rather than
Yeah,
the
yeah.
perpetrator.
So, how old were you then? You were like 16. Was this the?
No, for the Pope's secretary, that was when I was in seminary, so I was
Okay.
already an adult. Yeah,
But
yeah,
this is when you were. So this is in the early 80s, yeah.
yeah.
So the book, like, there's lots and lots of issues that it deals with. Yeah, when you were writing it, so like, did this just come out, or did you, carefully plan it, or did the book just take its own like natural course, and you started thinking things? And
Yeah. So
I mean, what I mean by that is, just to rephrase it. Sorry, did you think like, I need the psychological aspect to it? Yeah, I
uh,
need to draw on like my theology, and draw on your own experiences, or did that just, come out naturally?
yeah, in general, the way I write, I let the story unfold,
Mhm.
and so as each of the characters, and remember beforehand, I had taken lots of notes and stories from a lot of my friends, and I decided that it was going to be three main characters. So I let each of them unfold and uh, their personalities and what happened to them and how they felt. I let them basically tell me, what would Anthony do if this happened to him? What would Miguel do? Like, etc. Like, so that whole psychological and emotional journey that they take is really it just unfolded for me. I didn't plot that out. Um,
Yeah. But this is what, like, I think I was messaging you a few days ago. I said the book's got like real heart. Yeah, you really feel for, I felt like, for the characters, like when that thing happens to him when he's young, it's like he feels disgusted with himself, and this is often like a thing what people say about people who are abused. They feel
right.
like it's their fault. Yeah. And
Exactly.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the things about this book in particular is that it's poignant. It
Mhm.
has a message to it. It's not, to me it's not light. It has a message. It really follows a person, three people in particular, but them struggling with who they are, and it doesn't matter what sexual orientation you are or, where you go to school. It's just like they are struggling with what they feel, what they believe, what the world is throwing at them, and they have to figure out, what they're going to do. You know,
Yeah, it's a beautiful story. Yeah, but like I said, lots of things. Will there be? Are you fearful of any sort of like, repercussions? You think you get lots of criticism for, like, especially the aspects with the church and things, or I mean,
there
because I
might
don't know,
be.
I don't know how involved you are with the church or now, because you're a music teacher now. Yeah, but
Yes.
we'll go into that in a minute. But yeah, I don't know. Are you worried about people attacking
I,
you?
I have to be honest. There's a part of me that's a little concerned. I still, I'm still very connected with the church world, and I work in a school that is a Catholic school, and but these are real stories. It's not like I'm telling anything that you know, I don't speak ill of the church in any way. I let the reader come to terms with all of that happens. So um, you know, there are friends of mine from that time that went to that same seminary and said to me, they're going to come after you, and I said, what are they going to, what are they going to do to me? you know.
What can be worse than the past? You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
all these things would have been even more shocking, yeah, if you'd
Exactly.
written about them at the time, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, if you'd have released it, but you probably wouldn't be allowed to at the time back then.
Oh,
You would have got a lot more like criticism, but the book focuses on like sort of hypocrisy, lots of hypocrisy in the Catholic Church, and that's like quite, common knowledge in nowadays. There's obviously great aspects to the Catholic Church and terrible ones. Can you just talk about some of the better
well,
of the finer aspects that you sort of
yeah,
highlight in the book?
I can, and I'm glad you say that because there are a lot of good people, who continue to teach and continue to do what they do within the Catholic Church. Some of my dear friends are priests still, and some of them are bishops, actually,
Yeah.
and sisters, nuns. And so they, like I talk about the AIDS crisis in the book a little bit, and the first people who were on the ground dealing with and ministering to and helping these men with AIDS, and back in the early days before they knew how it was being transmitted, were Catholic organizations. So they do a lot of really good things, So I mean, I think it's a human institution with human frailty and flaws, and there are a lot of really good people, and the people who enact evil don't take away the good from the good people who do good things.
Yeah.
So I think each of us have to find our way in our world,
That's what I mean. I think it's important to, like, people always kind of like choose a camp. Not lots of people choose a camp. It's like the police are all racist. It's like, well, they're not all racist, It's terrible that some of them are, yeah, and we have to try and stop it. But they're not all racist. They're mostly good people.
Exactly.
Like you said, with priests, most of them, good people. Okay, so some of your other books, yeah, you've got 2 other books and another one coming out, which we'll discuss. They've won they were finalists for what was it called?
The Wishing Self.
Wishing Self, yeah.
Yeah, so I have them here.
The Wishing Well Awards, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So what? I've never read. I haven't read either of them. So
this one here, Coming About, is based on, that's actually nonfiction. That was a sailing adventure that my husband and I took. We sold everything. We lived in California. We sold everything. We quit our jobs, bought a sailboat, and sailed to the Caribbean island of St. Thomas, and nearly lost our lives. So,
but you can't reveal that here, or you can.
We lived. So, but we were shipwrecked and rescued at sea. So that's what that story is about.
Yeah. How long were you shipwrecked for?
Well, there are 2 little pieces. There are 2 adventures. We were saved twice. So we went to recover the boat after it was found, after we abandoned it the first time, and so we were in the water, hanging off of a dinghy, waiting to be saved.
Was it a storm, or are you just bad at riding boats?
There were 2 storms. There were the first storm was Hurricane Olga, I believe that was the name, if I'm remembering correctly, and the other one was a boat malfunction. So we had our trials and nearly didn't make it back.
Yeah.
So.
And the other story?
And the other story is a what if story. This is Body and Soul. It's I'd say that's more similar to to New Men, which is that takes place. That's a what if story.
I said about the cut, just to go back to that cover. Can you just hold it up? Yeah. Yes. This cover. This cover. No, the other one. The one. New Men. Yeah. So this cover, I said, like, the book, it doesn't tell the story totally of what's in the book. Yeah. This might be to attract people to buy the book, but then when they buy the book, it's like maybe there's lots more to the story. It's not like it's not just like an erotic story. It looks, the cover sort of says that a little bit, but there's a lot more to that. There is erotica in it, but there's a lot more to the story. I just wanted to add that, would you totally agree? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think the book is substantial. It deals with serious issues. There's romance in it. There's sex in it, but that's not the main focus of the book, right? The main focus of the book are these 3 young men trying to figure themselves out and falling in love, and dealing with what they think the world is all about. That's the substantial story.
Like, I think that's like important to say in a way, because maybe, sort of heterosexual males would not, looking at the cover, it might put them off, because they think it's like a romantic story, or it's just about romance.
Right.
But it's so much more than that. So I'd say to anybody, heterosexual, gay, bisexual, anybody, it's you'll get something out of the story if you read it.
Thank you, thank you. It's funny because some of my straight friends or guy friends were just like, I don't know that I could have that book on my shelf. I'm like,
Yeah.
no, read it. You read it.
That's what Matt recommended it to me. Matt Adcock.
Yes.
He's on the show. Yeah. He recommended it to me, and he said you should check this guy out. He's a great writer. Yeah. So I said okay, and then I looked at the book and I looked at the cover. I was like, what? I was like, I can't sit and talk about pornography for like an hour.
And thankfully, you discovered it was not.
Yeah. So I just wanted to say that. Okay, so Body and Soul. This is another similar to New Men, yeah.
Yeah, Body and Soul is, and actually, it's funny because my life partner, my husband, he's the character on both of those covers.
Okay. The priest the priest is you, yeah.
On the cover there, no, that's him.
Oh, that's him. But the picture you sent me as a priest, yeah, as well.
Oh yes.
Okay.
Yeah. But you know what? I concentrated that one. That one's fiction, and I basically wrote a story as what if I never left the seminary? What if I actually had become a priest, and then encountered the first person I fell in love with in my life? What would happen to that character? So that's like what happens when you buy into it, and then life unfolds. So
the sliding doors moment. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes. I always love what if stories. Like, what if you did this instead of that? And where would your life have ended up?
Yeah. So now you're a music teacher. It's such a weird life, yeah. Like, where do I start with this guy? He's a music teacher. He's but not we'll go into that in a minute. But a music teacher, theology in Italy. Books, romance books, it's all over the place. I was like, what the hell? Anyway, so you're a music teacher in a girls' school, yeah?
Yes. I have been. It's interesting. So I came about my interest in music during high school. I played guitar and sang in choirs, and so I've always been running small music groups. And at some point, even when I was studying to be a priest, I was in charge of the choirs there. And so when I left seminary, it became very clear that I needed to get a degree in music. And so I eventually got a master's in voice and singing, and then more recently a doctorate in music. But so I love music. I love performing. I love directing choirs. But I also, because of all my studies, I also got my degrees in theology. So I teach ethics to, so I teach both in the religious studies department, and I'm chair of a music department. So those things always seem to go hand in hand for me.
Yeah, and how old are the students? Are they high school students? Or?
They are. So
are they aware of your books?
They are. Yeah, they are.
And any of them read them?
Well, I don't know if they've read New Men because that's just come out in December, so I'm not really sure. But some of my former students have, and they've let me know that they've really enjoyed it. And a number of them have read Coming About because they're all.
I love it. I love an adventure story, so I'll check that one out.
Yeah, well, I hope you do. It's really all of that is. There's not any exaggeration in that story. So
yeah. So you have a favorite music film? Like I don't know if you ever see it. For me, my favorite music film was Mr. Holland's Opus.
I was just going to say that.
No, you might, because you're a lover of music. I thought, and as a teacher, I thought, fantastic, yeah.
What I love about that movie and the story is that his opus is not really his big symphony. His opus is his teaching. His opus is all the lives that he touched, all his students.
Yeah.
They are his opus.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Yeah,
that's what I love about that book.
yeah, it's a brilliant, brilliant movie.
Yeah.
So, have you got any plans to write, Mr. Dell'Olio's opus or something?
I don't know. I don't, but I do. I mean, I have I do have an announcement. My next book has just been. I wrote the story of my parents and their love story, and they they didn't meet for 2 years. They wrote letters for 2 years from Italy, from Bisceglie
Yeah.
to New York City. My father had emigrated from Italy to New York City, and he saw my mother's picture, a little picture in a letter from his brother, because my uncle married my mother's cousin, and he's like, "Who is that girl?" And he wrote his brother immediately and future sister-in-law and said, "Hey, who is this? I want to write to her. I think I'm in love." so
Wow.
so yeah, so I have
Was that legit? Was it a legitimate picture? It's not like nowadays Instagram where they put filters all over and it
yeah,
looks like a totally different person.
exactly. Total legitimate picture. You mentioned Mofetta and how they're walking, the same people. They were walking in the piazza, and arm in arm, and there were two couples, and my mother was right in the middle, and obviously she wasn't part of the couples, and my father saw her in his brother's engagement picture and was like, "I want to know this girl."
If you want, I don't know if you've seen any of my other videos. I've got like three in Puglia. Yeah, one in that song. What's his name? Volare.
Oh yes.
That song. The guy from that. He was born in this town. There's something Del Mare or whatever. So I've got one. I did a profile of a writer from there. I did one in I think in Bisceglie. I did a little bit of one of the videos, and in Molfetta.
Oh
So
my goodness.
you can check them out, have a little look, yeah.
I will definitely look at it because I know those two towns very, very well because I go to visit my cousins and aunts and uncles regularly. Um,
Amazing.
so my parents, after writing for 2 years, they finally meet and they get married. So I wrote their love story, and I just signed a contract with Black Rose Writing, and it's going to be published.
Brilliant, brilliant. So can you just talk about Black Rose for a minute? Give them a little.
So yeah, they're publishing company here in the U.S. and independent, a smaller publishing company, and they've got over 700 books, and so I'm very excited about working with them, and going forward, and they want my input on the cover of the book, and so they seem like a great group of people. And I looked at the books that they have.
We'll do a special on that, yeah. Another video, yeah.
Oh yes,
Just specifically to talk about that book.
absolutely.
I have to read it first, but yeah. So, sorry, when was that out? Did you say?
Pardon me?
When is that book out?
It will come out in February 2022.
Okay. Brilliant.
Yeah.
So what's the process now? You finished the book and you're just doing redrafts of it, or is it?
Yeah. So I finished the book in August, September, around that period, and I started querying it, sending it out to many different agents and independent publishing companies. So, I mean, doing the research of finding out who likes it's really creative nonfiction. It's nonfiction, but I had to be creative in the way I recreated dialogue, recreated scenes, and all.
Like The Crown, isn't it? When they, the TV series The Crown. Obviously, they don't know the dialogues, but they can guess quite, cleanly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and that's what I did. I mean, both my parents told stories since I can remember, and I spent over 2 years, with my iPhone recording my mom reading these letters to me in Italian, and then she'd go off on tangents telling me a story I'd never heard before. So,
Oh, that's
uh,
amazing. You can send, if you have any pictures of that, you can put them in. Yeah, for that new book. If you send them over, I'll put them
yes,
into the video. Yeah, on this little book
absolutely,
there.
I will.
Yeah,
I have a number of photos of the two of them, and so.
yeah, that's brilliant. Have you got any plans to go back to visit Puglia soon, or
Well,
this is over?
yeah. I mean, I had planned. I was supposed to be going there last March, a year ago.
Mhm.
Because I was doing a concert tour with my choir, and then after the concert tour to Rome, I was going to go down and see my relatives. So as soon as things open up and things get better in Italy, I plan to go down because my cousin's daughter had a baby, and there are so many people I want to see that
I'll meet you there. Yeah, we'll do it. A
I
meet
would
up
love
there.
that.
Yeah, I'd love it because I've been back, a few times there. I lived there 2 times for like a year. Really.
What brought you to Molfetta of all places?
Well, when I was there, I was teaching. Yeah, and
Ah,
then a few years ago, and then yeah, so I was teaching, and then I've had like a bit of a varied life, like you, in some ways. Like I've done accountancy, then archaeology, then I did some teaching,
wow.
and I do some videos and editing and things. So yeah, but it's
So,
a big little place.
archaeology? You?
Yeah, I did archaeology. I majored in archaeology in uni.
So did you see the dolmen in Bisceglie? It's a Bronze Age structure that is there.
No,
Um,
didn't see that.
oh, okay.
Missed
We'll
out
have
there.
to meet there.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah,
it's just a structure of
yeah,
what?
it's a Bronze Age structure that they found out in the middle of an olive grove, and it's so interesting. It's so typical of southern Italy. It's like, oh yeah, it's Bronze Age, no big deal. Uh, you know,
Mad, isn't it?
yeah,
But yeah, like the towns look like hundreds of years old, don't they? They just look like it hasn't changed.
yeah, it
Never
really.
changes. Like I always call it the cave. I lived in a place that looked like a cave. The walls of the house looked like this. And in
Yes.
my living room, I had like a punch bag, and I had this. I went like before Christmas when I lived there. I've eaten all the pizza and stuff. I went up to about 100 kilograms. Yeah, and I thought I've got to get rid of this. So after Christmas, I started training. I went down to like 70 kilograms in a few months because I
Wow.
had this bag. But Italians were always on, come and eat with us, come and do
Yeah.
this, come and drink with us. And I'd say, no, I can't. I want to get slim. So I'd stand there with the disco ball, punching the punch bag, and there'd be all Italians and sitting on my sofa, smoking marijuana or drinking red wine. I just look like because you have them locales in Italy.
Right.
So it became like a locale, and I'd say, they just follow me home, students and people there.
Well, yeah, I'm sure. I mean, you were popular there in a small little town. A
Yeah,
guy from the UK who came in to
that was
teach.
great. It was great. When I left, I give. There was this guy who was a doctor, very nice guy, yeah. And they used to always hang out, and I give them one of my boxing gloves, yeah. And they said sign it for us, so I signed it. Yeah. This was like 6 years ago. I went back about 5 years later, and they still had the boxing glove. They said, Tim, look at this.
That is so great.
Like I was a famous fighter. I was just punching the bag in the room. No, really nice people. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so if you send an email, you like in the video, because I really believe that video can help sell books, and actually we get a channel, people find it. It's not just you want to get a book. Okay, so you might be something like that. Then you see the person, like a guy, interested in life, just like credentials, percent of work. Because the way it's like that book is not just some guys, outside and like I mean, what does your husband do? Is he a writer too, or
Say that again?
your husband? What does he do? Is he a writer or?
No, he's not. He actually, it's funny. He was in seminary too. That's how we met. We met when we were studying for priesthood.
Yeah,
So, but not in Rome. We met in Washington D.C.
yeah.
But he works in IT. He's big data. He's a big computer guy.
Ah, good, good, good. Well, he should know how to like push this video to get lots and lots of people.
Yes.
I need him involved. Yeah.
All right. I'll make sure he gets involved.
Okay. It's been great talking to you. Yeah. Lovely. If there's anything else, but we can, like I said, we can do another video, maybe with another writer. Yeah.
I think, to be honest with you, I think my connection with a lot of these writers on Twitter, the writing community, has been so good for me, for my intellectual stimulation, and for, honing my craft. You find your little tribe on
Exactly. Yeah.
Twitter,
Yeah.
and we're, it's interesting because we send each other our work and help, give feedback and constructive criticism. I agree with you. I think bringing writers together is a great way to.
You need the team, don't you? You need to, to do anything, and
Yeah,
that's like a team that you don't have to pay.
exactly.
You pay each other by helping each other, by promoting each other's work and things like this. Yeah, that's great, man. Okay, lovely talking to you. Yeah. It's yeah. I hope we can meet in Italy, but before then, we'll do it another one. Yeah, at some point.
Absolutely. Yeah. I will send you some photos, and I'll also send you a photo of that Bronze Age structure in
Oh
Bisceglie.
yeah. Check that out. Yeah. Okay, and check out them videos in Italy. Yeah, just
I
have a
definitely
scroll
will.
down. Yeah. Thank you
Yeah.
very much. Take care.
Thanks. Have a great Sunday.
This should be out on like Tuesday, before Tuesday. Yeah.
Oh,
Tuesday,
excellent.
the latest. Okay.
Great.
Take care,
Thanks,
man.
Ken.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.